Hi, Bozena. Thank you for joining today.
Hi, Bruno.
Can you quickly introduce yourself and your role at Mortgage Direct?
Of course, Mortgage Direct started 19 years ago. We are a team of 24 qualified mortgage advisors. We speak 17 languages. We are registered with the Bank of Spain. We use all banks. I'm the senior mortgage broker with 9 years experience.
How do Spanish banks calculate how much mortgage a client can get?
Normally, the Spanish banks look at clients' net income and they will allow between 30 to 40% of the net income to cover your current financial commitments, plus the new Spanish mortgage repayments. They also take into account the client's age, term, and loan to value.
What types of income do banks typically accept for non-resident or expat clients?
So normally the banks split the income into two. We have the guaranteed income, such as basic salary and pension income. This type of income they take 100% into account. We then have the fluctuating income, which could be the rental income, dividend income, bonuses over time. And this is a little bit more complicated because depending on the bank, sometimes some of the banks will take 50% of that income into account, some 75%, and some banks look at the average over the last 3 years.
How does Mortgage Direct choose the most suitable bank for each client?
So we start off with calculating client's debt to income ratio. We look at which currency the client is earning, the profession, whether they're self-employed or employed. Based on that, we select the bank that will most likely approve the application and present clients with the proposal.
Are there any restrictions based on the type of property or minimum mortgage amount?
Yes, so the property classification of the property is based on Nota Simpler. In Nota Simpler, there will be a classification either urban, rustic, or touristic or commercial. When we look at urban properties, the banks normally will lend up to 70% of the purchase price or the valuation. If we look at commercial touristic properties, this is between 50 and 60% depending on the bank. If the client wants to build their own property, the land always have to be bought with cash to start with.
Bozena, for people who are not very familiar with official papers in Spain, what is a nota simple?
Nota Simpler is the property deeds that will have all the information about the property, including the classification, whether the property is urban, touristic, commercial.
How does the valuation process work and how can it impact the final mortgage offer?
So normally the banks will lend the client a percentage, whether it's 70 or 60% of the purchase price or the valuation, whichever is the lowest. If the client instructs the valuation by the bank, the problem is that the bank they cannot choose which valuation company they can use. It is selected randomly by the computer, and very often those valuation comes back lower, and clients will have to then make up the difference with cash. At Mortgage Direct, as part of our service, as soon as the client finds the property, we consult our panel of surveyors and we choose the company that can provide us the highest valuation. The valuation report is accepted by all the banks because the companies we are using, they are licensed and registered with the Bank of Spain to perform those valuations for mortgage purposes.
What does the process look like from the initial contact to pre-approval and beyond?
So the whole process can take between 2 to 3 months, depending at what stage we start the pre-approval. The starting point should always be calculating your budget, getting the mortgage pre-approved. At the same time, we open a client the bank account, so the client is ready then to start searching for the property. When the property is located, we consult our panel of surveyors. we check the valuation, how the property will be valued, and if the client is happy to proceed, we instruct the full valuation. Once the valuation report is back, it is sent to the bank, and the bank will issue a legal document called FAIN. FAIN is a contract between the bank and the client specifying the condition of the mortgage. Once the client signs the document, it is then uploaded to a notary and we start cooling off period. Cooling off period, depending on the province, it could be 15 days in Catalonia and 10 days the rest of the Spain. During this period, the client or appointed solicitor should visit the notary and sign acta. ACTA is basically checking the understanding of the condition of the mortgage, and the whole process should take between 2 to 3 months.
Thank you so much for joining today.
Thank you, Bruno.